Welcome into Outkick the Show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis, coming to you live. Appreciate everybody joining me early a little bit today. I've got to go eat lunch and then big day for the Travis family. I think it's a little bit early, but I think we're going to be able to go see Cars 3 today. So I've got to take out my my 2.5-year-old is obsessed with Lightning McQueen and with Cars 3. So I think we got an early afternoon showing with the kids of Cars 3. Hate to brag, but a lot of you guys out there are going to be drinking, chasing girls. You're going to be having an incredible time in the summer. Hate to brag, but your boy is going to be in Cars 3 with a 2.5-year-old. So, going a little bit early today. I am Clay Travis. You are watching and listening to Outkick the Show. Outkick the Show is presented by Oddshark. Go to Oddshark for all of your gambling and informational related needs, and you can get hooked up with the larger universe of gambling. And by God, I love gambling, as you guys well know. Okay, I'm going to start off with a proposition here that is going to blow your minds, okay? And that is this. The Cleveland Cavaliers should trade LeBron James right now. Okay? That is the truth. A lot of people out there are going to say, oh my God, you can't trade LeBron James. And by the way, for the rundown today, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about why the Cavs should trade LeBron James in my mind. I'm going to talk about why big win for Donald Trump last night in Georgia's 6th congressional district that I bet a bunch of you who are watching or listening to this actually live in. And we're going to debate no trade clause guy versus before and after taxes guy, which one is worse? But I want to start with the LeBron James position. Now, some of you immediately dismiss it as out of hand. You say you're crazy. What in the world are you thinking with trade LeBron James? And I say this, all right? Every time I start to wonder, how did I get so fucking rich writing and talking about sports? I read the comments to articles that I write, and I say, my God, so many of you are fucking sheep. I'm a lion, you're a sheep. Sheep get fucking slaughtered, right? That's what happens to sheep. You guys are a bunch of fucking sheep. If you're running around saying, bah, bah, black sheep all the time, motherfucker, I'm out here just with my axe chopping your fucking heads off, putting it on my wall, and taking your shear and making a coat out of it, all right? That's what I do. Don't be a fucking sheep. Use your brain, all right? Use your brain. The people who make money in this world, by and large, use their brain. And one way you can use your brain is by not immediately believing everything that you read, not accepting conventional wisdom, challenging everything. Doesn't mean that it's wrong. I want to tell you a little something. My wife was talking about me the other day, all right? My wife was talking about me the other day, and she said, you tend to talk to a lot of people about big decisions that you make. A lot of people keep quiet about it. I married my wife because she's really smart. I didn't marry my wife because she's a yes woman, because I wanted her to just say, you're awesome, and come around and say, your hair is incredible. I love you. My wife doesn't even give me any compliments, but she challenges me. You should want to be surrounded by people who challenge you, okay? You should want to be surrounded by people on a day-to-day basis who challenge your opinions. If you end up with people who always agree with you, then you're not having your opinions challenged. So it's funny, like every time I have an idea, everybody around me says that I'm an idiot for thinking it, right? Oh, I'm going to start my own website. Yeah, that's probably not a smart move. You're going to stop practicing law. Probably not a smart move, right? But what I like to know is I'm fortunate because I'm surrounded by a lot of smart guys, right? And so when I make a big decision in my life, there's about 7 or 8 people, and it can vary, it can be a little bit different people, that I'll call up and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing X. Here, listen to me for 5 minutes, and then tell me what your thoughts are. Now, I'm not asking them to make decisions for me. What I always want to do is make sure that I'm not missing something obvious, if there isn't some angle that I haven't possibly considered. Davy Crockett, one of my idols back in the day, still an idol, famous Tennessean, wore the coonskin cap, died in the Alamo. He had a famous saying. It was, be sure you're right, and then go ahead. I have my own saying. If you have no doubts about a decision, then you haven't thought about it long enough. But if you're worried about the doubts, then you're never going to do anything. You're always going to make the safe decision. You're always going to be a pussy. All right? That's the truth. Ultimately, you have to consider everything in a probabilistic manner and then make decisions that you think make sense. Sometimes they don't. I bought $50,000 in pants from China thinking I'm going to make a lot of fucking money off selling pants. You know what? I didn't make that much money off selling pants. But the actual decision-making process wasn't flawed. If you aren't taking risks, then you probably aren't going to succeed very much. Great example of this is Amazon. I saw Jeff Bezos say something similar. He said, look, I've made a lot of stupid decisions. I've lost billions of dollars off some of the decisions that I've made. But you know what? The decisions that I've made that are right have made me billions of dollars, and so I'm going to keep taking risks. Most people, by and large, do not take risks. All of this is a prelude to my analysis of LeBron James. Okay, what I do is I try to be systematic with the ideas or the arguments that I make. Okay? Here's what I do. When I look at a situation like LeBron James, I look at his contract and I say, okay, LeBron James has one more year guaranteed on his contract. After next year, he can go anywhere in the NBA and play if he opts out of his existing contract. What is LeBron James going to do? Okay? If I'm pretending that I'm Dan Gilbert, the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers. One way, by the way, that you can make decisions even before you have the money to make money off of your decisions is you can practice the process of making sound decisions by putting yourself in the position of people who are more prominent than you. I've always done this. Maybe this is rare. I've always done this. Oh, the president is considering doing X, Y, or Z. Well, what would I do if I were president? Now, I don't have access to all the information that he has, but I have access to a lot of it. Let me consider the arguments. What would I do if I were Dan Gilbert? What would I do if I were the owner of the Tennessee Titans? What would I do if you have a position that's more prominent than the one that you have now? That is really a strong way, honestly, to end up working on your thought process and making good decisions. Long before you have to make smart decisions yourself in your own life, pretend that you are making the decision as an executive, as someone who is in charge of a substantial amount of people. Work through the pros and cons and work on your judgment and your decision making. Then you can test your decision making based on what the results end up being without actually having any skin in the game, right? That's what I do now. It's what I've done for my whole life. So, LeBron James, Dan Gilbert is the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers. There are three big questions that I think you have to ask yourself if you're Dan Gilbert. All right, I'm going to work through them with you, and I want you to follow my logic and then tell me. At the end, I'll take your questions, and you can tell me if you disagree, but I want you to just listen and follow my logic here, okay? The first question you have to ask is, can this version of the Cleveland Cavaliers beat the Golden State Warriors and win a championship? The precept that we're working on here is, number one question, can this version of the Cleveland Cavaliers beat this version of the Golden State Warriors? All of you guys can respond, okay? All of you guys can respond. My opinion, based on the games that we have seen them play, in particular the NBA Finals, where the only game that the Cleveland Cavaliers won is the game that they played virtually flawless offensive basketball. One of the greatest offensive performances in the history of the NBA playoffs is the only game they won. So my opinion is this version of the Cleveland Cavaliers cannot win a 7-game series over the Golden State Warriors. That's question one, okay? Question two becomes, if this team that I have now cannot beat the Golden State Warriors, and look, that's my opinion. He may or may not share that, but that's my opinion. Question two becomes, what can I do with my team this year coming forward that will allow me to beat the Golden State Warriors? And the decision seems to be potentially trade Kevin Love and add Jimmy Butler or Paul George. The next question you ask yourself is, if I add Jimmy Butler or I add Paul George and I give up Kevin Love, is that trio good enough to beat the Golden State Warriors foursome in a 7-game series? I don't believe it's still enough. You guys can all vote. You guys can all vote on whether or not you believe that's true. I don't think it is. Meanwhile, if you give up Kevin Love, you're giving up a guy with multi-year guaranteed contracts who's a top 30-ish player in the league, top 25 player, in exchange for Paul George, who might leave as soon as the year is up, and you're renting him as well as you're renting LeBron James. So you are mortgaging the future of your franchise as an owner, okay? I don't think that is that plan, adding either Jimmy Butler or Paul George in exchange for Kevin Love, makes you more likely to win a championship. And remember, if you add Paul George, you're just getting him for 1 year. So you're giving up a multi-year top 25-ish player in Kevin Love in exchange for 1 year. You're basically gambling everything on trying to win a championship, okay? I'm working through my logic. If I say no here, and I don't believe that team is good enough to beat this year's Warriors team, couple of stats for you. Warriors just went 16-1 in the playoffs. They went 15-1 to finish off the regular season. That's 31-2 in their final 33. In their final 33 games, the only game they lost where they started and played all four of their big four was the game where the Cavs had the greatest offensive performance in the history, potentially, of the NBA playoffs in Game 4 to avoid a sweep. Okay? So, the Cavs, I believe, are probably going to get better. Probably going to get better with Durant, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, and Steph Curry all playing together. Okay? So that is my second point of contention today, is that the Cavs are going to get better. The Warriors are going to get better. Cavs may get better. So the answer to my first question is, can this year's Warriors, as they currently exist, this year's Cavs beat this year's Warriors? The answer is no. I don't think they can. Can you improve the Cavs team such that you can actually beat the Warriors? I think the answer is no. Okay, that moves us on to number 3. Are you guaranteed that LeBron James is going to re-sign with the Cleveland Cavaliers? Now, everybody, take a step back. Everybody in the sports media and most fans right now are sitting around saying what? The Indiana Pacers cannot let what happened? Paul George leave for nothing. They don't want to get Kevin Duranted. They don't want what happened to the Oklahoma City Thunder to happen to them. You cannot let somebody leave and not get anything for them, right? You can't let a free agent leave and get nothing for them, especially a player that good. So, if everybody's saying that about Paul George, and it's the motivating factor behind every trade right now that's going on, are the Lakers going to get Paul George? Are the Cavs going to get Paul George? Are the Celtics going to get Paul George? What is Paul George going to do? If that's the number one overriding question that everybody is asking, why then aren't the same people asking that question about LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers? Because he's going to leave after this year, I believe, and the Cavs are going to get nothing in return for him. So you're suddenly going to go from having a team that might be good enough to win the Eastern Conference and lose in the NBA Finals to just having Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love, and LeBron James, as good as he is, brought you an NBA championship, may well take you to 3 straight NBA Finals, but then he's gone. And the decision 3.0 is on. Now, LeBron James has a no-trade clause. But if I am a smart man like Dan Gilbert, and I just worked you through the 3 biggest questions that you need to ask. 1, can this year's Cavs team, if we continue with them next year, beat the Warriors and win a championship? I think the answer is no. 2, can we make a move, adding either Paul George or Jimmy Butler, that means that this next year's Cavs team can beat the Warriors? I still think the answer, absent injury to the Warriors, is no. And by the way, Vegas agrees with me. The Warriors are the most prohibitive favorite to win the title in the history of Major League Baseball, the NFL, the NBA, and the NHL. No pro sports franchise in American history has ever been as much of a favorite to win a title as the Warriors are right now. So the answer to the first 2 questions is no. We're not going to beat the Warriors next year. Question 3 becomes, are you certain that LeBron James is going to re-up with you? You don't know. In fact, the word is on the streets that LeBron James is actually going to leave. If all of that happens, okay, if I'm correct, you can't win the title and LeBron James is going to leave, what the Warriors are going to do to you is basically break the Cavs, right? In an effort to win a title that you cannot win, you are going to do everything in your power to lose, and then your franchise is basically going to die, at least for the foreseeable future, in terms of being able to compete for championships. How do you avoid that happening? Well, I think the way you avoid that happening is pretty simple. You make the decision to go ahead and trade LeBron James. You trade LeBron James to the Lakers, where he wants to go in advance. You see if you can get the number 2, 27, 28, Julius Randle, whoever you want, maybe future year draft picks. And if you are smart and you draft well with those picks, you will do what the Dallas Cowboys did when they got rid of Herschel Walker and brought all those draft picks with Jimmy Johnson back in the day back down to the Dallas Cowboys and built a stable franchise for the future. Tell me why that's not the smartest play to make. You get potentially 3 up to 5 probable draft picks in the first round, all to replace LeBron James. Let me continue my argument. LeBron James is going to turn 33 years old next year. And then he's going to play at 33. And then when he becomes a free agent, he's going to be signing his free agent deal for the 34, 35, 36, and 37-year-old LeBron James. I think what's going to happen is, if it's not immediate, and again, there's no salary cap room in Cleveland, if Cleveland re-ups with him, what's going to happen is the same thing that happened to the Lakers with Kobe. LeBron James is going to slowly decline, and then he's going to have a farewell tour, and then the team's going to have to get blown up, and you're going to have to go back in and redo everything. Okay? If you allow the Lakers to take him, there's a possibility LeBron James is going to take less money. That certainly you can pair him with Paul George. They have the salary cap money to make a run at Chris Paul, to make a run at Carmelo Anthony. All those guys, in theory, best friends, Carmelo Anthony, Chris Paul, and LeBron James, could, in theory, all take like $10 million a year and be on the same team alongside Paul George and create an NBA super team with the Lakers in 2018. So if you believe all of that is possible, if you are LeBron James, you might very well be willing to go ahead and sign off on a sign and trade a year in advance. Okay? If you are Dan Gilbert and you are the owner of the Cavs, you didn't become a billionaire by making the decisions that everybody expected you to make. You took risks, and sometimes you had to make unpopular decisions. Trading LeBron James is an unpopular decision that pays off in a logical sense and avoids your team getting left with nothing when LeBron James rides off into the sunset and goes to a new team. By the way, even if you can re-sign LeBron James, the Cleveland Cavaliers, as presently constituted, are not going to win a title. They have way too much money invested in Tristan Thompson, J.R. Smith, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Love, and LeBron James to have any salary cap room to add any additional players. There's no method imaginable by which they end up with more than 3 stars on the team unless LeBron James is going to take a lot less money. And I don't buy into the fact that he's going to do it at Cleveland. So, that is my analysis of what should happen going forward. If the Cleveland Cavaliers are being smart, they would engage in trade discussions involving LeBron James right now, this summer, instead of trying to add Jimmy Butler or Paul George and lose still to the Warriors. They should be thinking about the next 5 to 10 years of the franchise, because as good as they may be for 1 or 2 years more with LeBron James, the franchise will go on. All right. Questions from you guys. By the way, LeBron James is way overpaid Tristan Thompson and J.R. Smith. He's the default GM there. And Tristan Thompson and J.R. Smith are getting way, way too much money. Okay, questions from you guys. Somebody try to take fault with my logic there. Somebody take aim, ask questions about why the Cavs should not trade LeBron James. Anybody got any strong argument other than, yo, he's from Cleveland. He's from Cleveland. If they trade him, people will be mad. You don't think people are going to be mad when LeBron James leaves and the Cavs got nothing left? He's already brought a title to Cleveland. He's already brought a title to Cleveland, so I don't think people are going to be that mad. I think they would understand it. I think they would understand that the best thing for Cleveland, for the Cavaliers, is for LeBron to be gone. LeBron is a businessman. He already left them once. I think he will leave them again. By the way, if he doesn't leave them, I think it's actually worse for the Cavs. I think it's actually better for the Cavs franchise if LeBron James leaves. He's on the downward slope of his career. Maybe all that HGH he takes, maybe all that steroids that he takes will allow him to be good longer than most. But how many basketball players who are dominant at the age of 36 do you remember? How many dominant basketball players at the age of 35 do you remember? How many dominant basketball players at the age of 37 do you remember? I'm telling you right now, the odds of LeBron James being better than he is right now is not going to happen. As good as he is, when he's re-upping on Decision 3.0, it's for his age 34, his age 35, his age 36, and his age 37. It's going to be just like Kobe. It's going to be just like Kobe. His body eventually is going to break down, and at the end of his career, he's going to be a shadow of what he used to be. You're going to have a full-time, 1-year goodbye from LeBron James. Everybody will come out and talk about how amazing he is, but I'm telling you right now, that is the play. All right? That is the answer. All right. No good answers, no good questions, no good responses coming in. So that, my friends, is the answer. Nobody has been able to say it. Again, I go look at my mentions sometimes. Go read my article up on OutkickTheCoverage.com and tell me why it is not flawless. I'm telling you, it's a flawless article. And everybody who's arguing against it reminds me of how I got rich writing and talking about sports, because most people are not intelligent enough to actually follow my logic, and it isn't even that complicated. Other thing is, let me tell you this. If you comment on something before you read it, I think that you are a total idiot, by the way, right? Like, it's not that complicated in general for you to actually manage to actually read a full article before you do it. That's all I'm asking you to do. All right, here's a question for you guys. You know, I have a law firm. I make money as many different ways as I possibly can. Well, Outkick has a law firm, and right now I want to tell you, you've heard advertisements for low T or low testosterone. They're all over the place. I got a testosterone level, it's through the roof. They actually tested me for testosterone. They said, my God, you have the testosterone of 10 normal men. I said, yeah, of course, that's what my life's like. But you've heard about all these people with low T, all right? You've heard about all these people with low T. Well, let me tell you, you promised right now better energy, better sex drive, more vitality, all kinds of other anti-aging benefits. I got to tell you right now, I sleep 4 hours a night. I'm a fucking machine. I'm out here dominating people left and right. I don't need any more testosterone, okay? But some of you guys might. And as a result, in March of 2015, drug companies have been making a ton of money selling testosterone as a fountain of youth. This year, this is crazy, testosterone treatment's expected to reach $5 billion. $5 billion in annual revenue, more revenue than the NHL puts up. That's how much money they are going to make. And right now, the problem is these drugs, in addition to maybe potentially raising your testosterone level, they may also increase your risk of heart disease, heart attack, stroke, and death. Uh-oh, not a good buy. 1 in 4 patients never even tested to see if they have the only condition that's approved for these treatments. They just give the drugs away for nothing. I'm telling you, it's a ridiculous precept. Right now, there are literally thousands of lawsuits pending against the makers of Androgel and other low-T treatments like Androderm, Testim, and BioT Gel. If you or someone you know has been taking this treatment, testosterone treatment, and suffered a heart attack, stroke, pulmonary embolism, or coronary artery disease, you need to go online to outkicklaw.com or call 1-844-OUTKICK. 1-844-OUTKICK. Fill out the online form. Give us a call. Our lawyers will help you figure out what to do next. No cost to you. Go to Outkick Law. Call 1-844-OUTKICK. Make me some more money. Also make yourself some money. Get hooked up. 1-844-OUTKICK or OutkickLaw.com. All right, boys and girls. A couple of other things I want to hit on. Did you see the results? Big win for Donald Trump. Big loss for the Democrats. Georgia's 6th congressional election last night. This kid, Ossoff, who's only 30 years old, he decided that he was going to run in a district he didn't live in. Donald Trump, this is kind of fascinating. I thought it was an incredibly interesting case, an incredibly interesting political sort of study. $52 million was spent on this House race. $52 million. The vast majority raised and spent by Ossoff and Democratic operatives. And the reason why Ossoff thought that he was going to have a chance to win this district is because Trump only won this district by 1 point. It was really tight between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. I believe it was like 47-46 Donald Trump won. Well, Ossoff saw those results, and when Trump nominated the former congressman in that district to be Department of Health of Human Services Secretary, I think, something like that, he thought to himself, I'm going to run against whoever the Republican is. And he almost won in the runoff, but he didn't quite get there. And then he got his ass off kicked in the actual election. And this was fascinating. Everybody decided to make this a referendum on Donald Trump. And everybody decided to make this a referendum on Donald Trump. Money poured in, $52 million, just like in Nebraska, just like in Montana. Everybody says, oh, this is our opportunity as Democrats to demonstrate how running against Donald Trump is going to pay off for us. And instead, what happened? Ossoff lost by like 4 percentage points, which is substantial when you consider the Republican Congresswoman outperformed Donald Trump by 3 points, even though they tried to make this election all about Donald Trump. And this is a lesson for you. I think Democrats need this lesson. You don't win by being against someone else. This is true in life in general. You don't win in life by trying to not be someone else, right? You can't win by saying, hey, I'm not Donald Trump. Look at what Donald Trump's doing. I'm not him. Nobody votes for that guy. Nobody votes for that girl. You are then running a pussy campaign. What you have to put forward is not, I'm not something. You have to be for something. This goes in life too. Like, you don't get a hot girlfriend. You don't outkick your coverage by not being her former boyfriend. That might last for like a week. You might pick her up at the bar by not being her boyfriend. But at some point, you have to be something else other than just not something, right? You have to be for something. You have to be someone. You have to matter, all right? This is good life lesson in general. A lot of people try to be not somebody, right? There are a lot of people out there who run political campaigns and they're like, oh, vote for me. I'm not Donald Trump. That's not going to win. Ultimately, what did Hillary's campaign boil down to? Vote for me. I'm not Donald Trump. She wasn't selling, by the end, she wasn't selling anything she was going to do. She was selling what she wasn't. And the people who are for something are always going to be more excited and more energetic than the people who are just not for something, right? It's a basic principle. And what the Democrats have made a bad decision on of late, in all these races that they're running against Donald Trump, is they're trying to be not Donald Trump. You're not going to beat Donald Trump by not being Donald Trump. You have to beat Donald Trump by being so good at what you are that people want you to be the guy or the woman or whoever it is. And by the way, this goes across the landscape. If you are trying to be the next great college football coach, you can't do it by not being somebody, right? You have to be you. You can't become a great CEO by not being somebody else. Like, you might get that initial job, but ultimately you have to take ownership of something. Not being someone else is basically you just being a bitch. You're like, oh, well, I'm not this guy. Please pick me. No, you're going to lose. And what the Democrats have been doing so far is trying to be not Donald Trump. You don't win by being not Donald Trump. You win by being for something. And so far, all being not Donald Trump does is energize the people who support Donald Trump. Because what you're doing is you're not giving them an alternative. You're saying to them, hey, we're not Donald Trump. Well, Donald Trump's people are all going to come out because they like Donald Trump and because you're running against him. And the Democratic candidate is not offering a tangible difference. People don't vote for not things, right? In general. You don't win elections by saying, I'm not this. You win elections by saying what you're for, not what you're against, okay? And that's an important distinction because ultimately when you're running against something, you aren't selling yourself. You're just running against someone else. You have to sell yourself. And that works in life in general. You want to pick up the hot girl at the bar? You can't go up to her and be not somebody else. Might work for a short amount of time, but sooner or later. That's why the nice guy's always like, I'm a nice guy. How come I never win? Because you don't do anything other than be a nice guy. It's better to be an asshole and be interesting than to be a nice guy and be boring. Right? I mean, that's the truth. I remember Adam Carolla once said, best way to pick up girls, go to a bar sometimes. It's an amazing line. I remember hearing it. Best way to pick up girls, go to a bar sometime, pick up a stool, and just throw it. And then when people come over and they're like, girl comes over to you and she's like, what's the matter? Just be like, I don't want to talk about it. You might be an asshole, but you're interesting. There's something there, right? There's some, like, interest level. There's some, like, pinprick of what's going on here. If you're just a nice guy, nice guys don't win. That's the truth. Just a nice guy doesn't win. And so the lesson that I would take from the big win that Donald Trump got in the 6th Congressional District in Georgia, just north of Atlanta, in the suburbs there, highly educated. I'm sure there are a ton of people right now who will listen to this show and read Outkick today that live in that suburban area. Huge market for Outkick is you can't win by being against someone else. Democrats haven't learned that lesson yet. I don't know if it's going to happen in 2018. I think they're probably going to try to run against Donald Trump. And all they're going to do is motivate Donald Trump's people to come out and vote for him, because you have to give somebody a reason to like you, not a reason just to support somebody else. That's what I got to tell you. That's what I got to tell you. It's an important lesson to learn. This election was a great example of it. Okay, final segment here. A little bit early again, if you're just tuning in, earlier than normal because I'm going to go to Cars 3 tonight. Big evening coming for me. Okay, which is worse, no trade guy or before after taxes guy? I find both of these people incredibly frustrating because what they're trying to do is show off how smart they are, and they're saying something that a lot of people already know. So anytime you're talking about things, like the great example is, I'm like, would you suck a dick for $100 million? Right? If I just ask you that question right now, you guys can give me an answer. Would you suck a dick for $100 million? You can say yes or no. One of these motherfuckers out here will say, before or after taxes. And I'm like, motherfucker, you'll suck a dick for $60 million, but if you get taxed on it, you won't do it? It drives me crazy. Before or after taxes guy always shows up. Always, anytime you have a debate, you're like, oh, would you like move to Evansville, Indiana if you were going to make $1 million for the rest of your life? Somebody will be like, well, before or after taxes? Hey, motherfucker, nobody likes before or after taxes guy, because it's like you're just trying to show off. Oh, everybody knows taxes exist, okay? Unless you find a way to live in America and never pay taxes, all of us who make any kind of money at all, we're paying taxes. So if you're negotiating, like, then my response is going to be like, which country's taxes? Would you suck a dick in Latvia? Because you might not have to pay as much money to suck a dick in Latvia. And if you're negotiating over whether you suck a dick in America or Latvia, guess what? You're a dick sucker, all right? And there's worse things to be. Like, I would rather be a dick sucker than a lawyer. Frankly, you give me $100 million, that's the truth. So I asked the question. It's up on Twitter right now. Which is worse? And immediately, like, go look at my mentions. I write about the fact that the Cavs should trade LeBron James. In the first fucking paragraph, I put, I know LeBron has a no-trade clause. That means he would have to agree with it. What do people immediately say? He has a no-trade clause. Did you think about the no-trade clause? No, motherfucker. Of course I thought about the no-trade clause because I'm not a fucking idiot, all right? So, the question that is hanging out here, which is worse, after taxes guy or no-trade clause? And by the way, got a good question from good addition from my guy, I think his name's Jack Meelan. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. He said, what about fade the picks guy? I also hate fade the picks guy. Fade the picks guy may be worse. Because if you're the guy who, whenever I give out a pick, he's like, oh, fade the picks. What you're basically saying is, I am a cunt. And why I know that is because you're not even making a decision on the game. You're just choosing to go against somebody else. And by the way, if you can consistently win money by fading somebody, that's pretty incredible. Because it's just as hard to be consistently a loser gambling as it is to be a winner. From a proportional perspective, it's every bit as hard to go 17-3 as it is to go 3-17, right? So fucking fade the picks guy is basically saying, my genitals don't work. I am a total cunt. I'm just going to say, fade the picks, and then say, I make so much money fading the picks. No, you don't. You don't have a functional penis. You are a fucking loser. From now on, whenever you see somebody say fade the picks, just say, you got no penis. Just respond to be like, well, now we know who has no penis, because that's the truth. But right now, I put up a poll question. Who is worse, no trade clause guy or before and after taxes guy? And right now, after taxes guy is winning. Nearly 3,500 of you have voted. Nearly 60% of you are saying after taxes guy is the worst. So, in your life, don't be before or after taxes guy, all right? If you're sitting around with your buddies, don't be before or after taxes guy, because here's the truth. Your life ain't changing that much before or after the taxes, all right? I am Clay Travis. This has been Outkick the Show. I love all of you. Thank you for coming to hang out with me. We'll be live tomorrow morning. I'm making my case for LeBron James on Fox Sports Radio, 250 stations, AM and FM, and Sirius XM Channel 83. Again, I'm early today because I'm taking my kids to go see Cars 3. Wild day in the Travis household. Lightning McQueen better make some fucking plays. I am Clay Travis. This has been Outkick the Show, presented by Oddshark. Go to oddshark.com for all your gambling and informational related needs. And thank you for the time that you spent with me today. I'll be back tomorrow at 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern, 250 a.m. FM station, Sirius XM Channel 83. Don't be a pussy. Don't be before or after taxes guy. And do not be no trade clause guy. I love all of you. Kisses. Have great Wednesdays.